morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley. My name is Reverend Kiya. My pronouns are she, they, and howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome. We're going to, the service today is on Sufism, and so we're going to start with a Sufi poet's translation. It's called Come, Come, Whoever You Are. The words are up there, and then we can try it around if we're feeling spunky. Okay? Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worship, lover of me, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet and come. Let's try it around. Come, come, whoever you are,
Church of the Brazos Valley, UUCBV, or Brazos UU for short. My name is Molly Hagan Ward, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm serving as your worship assistant today. Whoever you are, wherever you've come from, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We need another volunteer for the home game this weekend, and so Football Parkers Unite. I'm going to be there. Bobby is so dedicated to it. We know it's a major fundraiser. Please look at your calendar. And if you're available, the sign-up's on the welcome table. And we've also got the exciting November 11th drive-in at our new church at 6 p.m. I lied, it's November 10th. It's the Friday. So at the new church, 6 p.m., we get to watch the movie, and then we're going to have our singing rave Barbie service the next day. So get it on your calendar on Sunday. If you have a joy or concern, please write it in the book being passed around for Reverend Kiya to read. And please remember that our service is recorded and available publicly if you need to moderate your message accordingly. And Crop Walk is this afternoon at 2:30 at Veterans Park. And we wanted to make sure that if you hadn't heard, someone very dear to a lot of us, we've known for many, many years, longtime member Jan Radio, died a few weeks ago, and her family kept it kind of quiet. So we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware and could send her blessings. And now, if you'll turn to number 607, we're going to be doing a responsive reading for our chalice lighting.
I think David is going to light the chalice. All the accoutrements. This comes from a Sufi poet named Hafiz. That's what we call him in English. It's called Beloved Presence. Cloak yourself in 1,000 ways. Still, I shall know you, my beloved.
Yet I shall feel you, presence, most dear, close and intimate.
I shall salute you in the springing of cypresses and in the sheen of lakes, the laughter of fountains.
I shall surely see you in tumbling clouds, in brightly embroidered meadows.
O beloved presence, more beautiful than all the stars together.
I trace your face in ivy that climbs, in clusters of rose, in morning flaming the mountains, in the clear arc of the sky.
You gladden the whole earth and make every heart great.
You are the breathing of the world.
From Shams Undun Muhammad Hafiz.
Now, all please join me in saying our affirmation as you're able. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
This is the part I love. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe there is a spark of the divine in every person. That includes every one of y'all. And this is your opportunity to say howdy to the divine in every person in the room. Please make an extra effort to say hello to people you don't know and learn their names. Shock. Okay. Number 18 in the hymnal. Thank you, Rita. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, my soul. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul. What wondrous love is this that brings my heart to bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down, beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul, oh my soul. Friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul. To love and to all friends, I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends, I will sing. To love and to all friends, who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end, I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end, I will sing.
Good morning. My name is Allison, and each week I do a thing that's called the Time for All Ages. And this is a story that anyone from Joey all the way to as old as in the room can have a... I'm not going to call out anyone on that. But this is a story that everyone can get something out of. And this story in particular is a Sufi parable that was just told in RE, that's religious education, about a month ago. So some of the kids might recognize it. It's called The Tale of the Journeying Stream, and it's all about transformation. a stream from its course in far-off mountains, passing through every kind and description of countryside, at last reached the sands of the desert. Just as it had crossed every other barrier, the stream tried to cross this one, but found that as fast as it ran into the sand, its waters disappeared. It was convinced, however, that its destiny was to cross this desert, and yet there was no way. Now, a hidden voice coming from the desert itself whispered, "The wind crosses the desert, and so can the stream." The stream objected that it was dashing itself against the sand and only getting absorbed. The wind could fly. This is why it could cross the desert. By hurtling in your own accustomed way, you cannot get across. You will either disappear or become a marsh. You must allow the wind to carry you to your destination. But how could this happen? By allowing yourself to become absorbed in the wind. This idea was not acceptable to the stream. After all, it had never been absorbed before, and it didn't want to lose its individuality. And once having lost it, how was one to know that it could ever be regained? The wind, said the sand, performs this function. It takes up the water, carries it over the desert, and then lets it fall again. Falling as rain, the water again becomes a river. How can I know this is true? It is so, and if you do not believe it, you cannot become more than a quagmire, and even that could take many, many years. And it is certainly not the same as a stream. But can I not remain the same stream that I am today? You cannot, in either case, remain so, the desert said. Your essential part is carried away and forms a stream again. You are called what you are, even today, because you do not know which part of you is the essential one. When it heard this, certain echoes began to arise in the thoughts of the stream. Dimly, it remembered a state in which it, or some part of it, had been held in the arms of the wind. It also remembered, or did it, that this was the real thing, not necessarily the obvious thing to do, but the real thing to do. And the stream let itself go, raised its vapor into the welcoming arms of the wind, which gently and easily bore it upwards and along, letting it fall softly as soon as they reached the roof of a mountain many, many miles away. And because it had its doubts, the stream was able to remember and record more strongly in its mind the details of this experience. It reflected, yes, now I know my true self. So think about what you might need to turn yourself into this week and get carried away with the wind. And now I invite all of my younger UUs to go to religious education with me. And would all of you sing us out with this little light of mine?
Light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Notice anything new? This is the time in our service where we have to take a moment to share our joys and our sorrows with our entire community, you want to be sure to remember that it is being recorded and it will be on the internet. So, you know, marginalized, no, that's not the right word. Moderate, thank you. Great. Aaron started a new job at CVS. It doesn't look like anybody else has any joys or concerns. So imagine there's quite a few in the room being held in private. So let's hold all those people in our thoughts as well. So John, it occurs to me that I did not ask you if you got the video.
It's in there.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So I'm talking about Sufism today. What religion does Sufism come from? Islam. You might not know that. It's not considered a sect of Islam. It's considered, well, you know how Christianity has different branches, and if you're doing a lot of meditation and work on yourself, that's kind of what Sufism in Islam is. There are many versions of it, but it's about having a personal relationship with God. So the reason why all these poems that we're reading talk about the beloved, they're talking about being in love with God and actually trying to get rid of your ego and find your inner spark of the divine and listen to that. So it's got a lot of things in common with lots of different other religions, Zen, Buddhism. There's lots of different places where you can see the connections. And truthfully, because it started with Muhammad, and Muhammad lived at 570. Do you all know anything about Muhammad? He was an orphan. He was orphaned when he was 6, and he was adopted into a family where he first was a shepherd, and then he was a trader. So he spent many, many years in his teens and through his early 20s traveling around and listening to all these people, and you're sitting around the campfire because it would take, 10, 12 days to get across the desert. And so you had lots of opportunities to get to know the other people who were trading, and there were people from every culture trading. Jews, Christians. So he heard the stories of everybody. Now he was illiterate, but he would go out for meditations, and he made a lot of money. He was very successful. And people talked about how honest he was, and they trusted him. So he was a seeker. How many of y'all feel that way? Like, I'm not sure, is this all there is? Why do we live? What are we here for? What am I supposed to do with my life? Can we get a witness on that? Okay, so he was a seeker. And he would go to this cave and he would meditate. And when he was about 40, his life changed. The angel Gabriel came to visit him and said, read. He's like, I don't read. He's like, read. And then he was inspired. He said it was painful, but he got enthused with the Spirit of God. Now, Sufis are trying to emulate Muhammad. There's a lot of other stuff about Muhammad. We'll talk about him some other day. But it's complicated because Muhammad went from, writing down what becomes the Quran to running an entire civilization, a country. At one point he was running Arabia, and he's interacting with all these people. But when he started out, the things about him that made him really stick out was tolerance, seeing that God was in all different religions, and recognizing the one God. So Sufis, that's what they're about. They're very tolerant. They are looking for a way, and different ways as time goes on, to find a way to be more in touch with the Spirit of God within themselves, to listen to their intellect. Does this sound like any Unitarians that you've ever heard of? Maybe Transcendentalism? There's a lot of aspects of Hinduism, and the thing is, there are so many Muslims in the world, but most of them are in India and Indonesia. Did you know that? So it's very complicated, and you have all these different cultures. But Arabia, when Muhammad was alive, was pagan and tribal. So if you hurt my brother, I have to kill you. It's very blood for blood, eye for an eye. You get that story? So all that's in there. But Muhammad was different. He was, hey, I'm going to forgive you. We're going to get along. Let's work it out. He was more of a trader. So it's almost like the good aspects of becoming a merchant is that you want to get along with all your customers, right? So the part that gets more interesting, so Muhammad's like 6th century. The big heyday of Sufism is from the 9th to the 12th century. And so the poets that we all like to read, Rumi is the best-selling poet in the United States ever, which is crazy. 12th century Sufi Islamic poet. So that's pretty cool. And I wanted to tell you about Sufis believe that it's possible to draw closer to God and to be more fully embrace the divine presence in this life, not waiting for heaven, not waiting till you're done. They strive to obtain direct experience of God by using intuitive and emotional faculties, which is kind of what's happening in Unitarian Universalism right now, because we're trying to move away from being so rationally, reason-based lecturing sermons, although this one's a little bit that way. But the whole purpose of it is to be more balanced. You know, using your intellect, because that's a gift from God as well, but being more in touch with your heart. So they talk about Sufism as making your heart on fire. Now, how many people have ever heard of Rumi? We sang his song. There's a lot of great quotes from Rumi. And he's not the only Sufi saint. There are many of them. But in the Middle Ages, it started getting organized. And the way that Sufis do it is you have a teacher, and the teacher basically enthuses you with the Spirit of God. It's almost like getting lit on fire. Maybe a little bit like getting saved. You know, like suddenly you're connected with your inner divine, and it's woke up. And it's usually done by a teacher that you've served for many, many years. They're also really, really, really big on social justice. You might have to work in the soup kitchen for 1,000 days before you could even be accepted as a student. And there are many different orders. So not all Sufis are the same, not all Muslims are the same. We got that, right? Just take what you know about the religion you're most familiar with, and you can pretty much just go do, do, do, because human beings are human beings. They make their religions up and they fight about them. That's the story. Though in this world of duality we may find ourselves in different forms, ultimately there is no male or female, only being. Within the Sufi traditions, the recognition of this truth has encouraged the spiritual maturation of women in a way that has not always been possible in the West. I don't know if y'all know this, but Muhammad was pretty feminist, especially for his day, because he married a woman 15 years older than him, who had been a widow twice. Very unusual. So his wife, and he stayed married to her monogamously for 15 years until she passed away. And then he was the head of a country, and so he married different women from different tribes because he was trying to connect the tribes, and also because, you know, he was probably lonely. But he was in love with his wife, and he respected her, and she was basically the first Muslim. So it's kind of interesting that way, because you see how the Islamic world is working now. It's not very fun to be a woman in that world. But it's good to know that originally it wasn't that way. I mean, he did a lot of things. They used to take it was all right if you were Arabian in a tribe. It was all right to take the women out when they're babies if you don't want a daughter and leave them in the Senate and let them die. Infanticide. He stopped that. He also made it where women had rights of property and were people. And he says in the Quran, right there, they never talk about this verse, but that men and women are equal in the eyes of God. This is in the 6th century. Pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. And he tried to do good things. There's lots of, we could talk about that more, but in Sufism, it's the same way. And there are a lot of women saints in Sufism. So later we're going to have a reading from one of them. But people follow, there were women who studied Sufi, there were men who studied Sufi. Now Rumi, his order is called Metlavi, and he's responsible for a lot of things that we understand as being Sufi. He trained, his father was in an order, in a Sufi order. He grew up as a scholar, so he's studying his books and everything. And then one day, this dervish, this basically think like a Franciscan, but the Islamic version of it, comes to see him, named Shams. And they fall in spiritual love. Maybe other love too, we don't know. But the way they taught, the way that it's told the story, especially in very homophobic Islam, it was a spiritual relationship. But you all listen, read the poems and make up your own mind. The thing of it is that he met Shams and he was so enthused with the Spirit of God, he found his inner light. By just being around this guy who was so present and so in his spirit. I just don't know what that could be like, but to the point that, you know, Rumi already had his disciples and people around him, and they were jealous of Shams, and they murdered him. And Rumi was so distraught, he just walked around the pillar in the mosque, and it becomes the whirling dervishes. So I've got a movie for you where you can see a little bit of that.
Gidişine yüzerseniz daha rahat olur. Ama terse yüzerseniz çok daha zor olur, yorulursunuz. Bu da aynı dünya dönüyor, sen de dönüyor, bütün zerreler dönüyor, sen de görüyorsun. Bizim dünya görüşü, Yaradan'ın kendi vücudunda hisseden bir görüşe sahiptir. 20 senedir semazenlik yapıyorum. Ben 66 yaşındayım. İşte bir tarikat yerine gittiğimde orada sözün uygulaması öğrenmeye başladım. Mana temizlik, dünyadan soyunuyorsun sigarayı çıkarttığın zaman. Dünyevi şeylerden şimdi ilk sola attığın zaman al deriz. Bunu attığımız zaman da lah deriz. Allah, Allah, Allah. Fantezikir içtendir. Sağ el üsttedir, sol el onun altındadır. Yani halktan alır, halka dağıtır. Ama orada da bir yakınlık hissedilir. Yaradan'dan bir yakınlık hissedilir. Yaradan her şahsın şah damarından daha yakındır. Dönmede dünya dönüyor, yani bütün zerreler dönüyor.
beautiful, isn't it? So when he said semi, he was talking about, in some of the orders, you'll see a bunch of people going like this. They're basically chanting the name of God in whatever language they're speaking. And it does have a lot in common with a lot of Hindi practices where you're saying Om or you're saying, anyway, and because there's a lot of cross-pollination between all these religions, it's good to know that the way things are in one place is not how it is in another place. The other thing you need to know about Sufism is, maybe you've heard of the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda attacking some Sufi mosques. Have you heard of that? It's happened over and over because in some of the modern day Islamic states, they do not think that women are equal to men. They do not think that it's okay to be all following your heart and doing things that might be against the rules. But for the most part, Sufis follow the rules of the Quran. Now, the rule, I can't say that right. The law of the Muslim law is about 200 years after Muhammad. And it's very affected by the place and the location where that law is enacted. And so a lot of bad things come back in. It's not unlike Christianity when you get Roman Christianity and suddenly it's a nation and people start getting killed for not believing the right thing, right? Same thing's happening in Muslim culture. So it's good to keep in mind that all religions are made up, that people fight, and that it's always going to be like that. We're going through that right now. We're watching what's happening in Gaza. It's very disturbing. It's hard not to get completely depressed. I can tell you when I was doing some of the research of this, I get so excited about the basic idea. The idea is beautiful. And then you start getting into it, and they're killing people for being homosexuals. They're cutting their heads off. Come on, y'all. That's not right. And that's not where it originally came from. So messages get diluted, and what we have to know, as not being from that culture, is that not everyone in that culture is like that. Basic Sufi ideas are tolerant. There's a lot of Sufi saints that were gay, and gender bending. And there's a lot of things about Islamic culture that is, they just don't call it homosexuality, but it's homosexuality. Do you know, like, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. But I do want to tell you that Sufis are being targeted in very repressive, the Taliban in Iran under Khomeini, so it's not all the same anywhere. And we need to be aware of that as we're trying to find solutions and help people not kill each other. So, although a lot of Palestinians are Christian, but the same situation happens between Jews and Muslims and Christians all the time. And you have to do the research and wonder how much of that eye for an eye is built into the culture from centuries of following that way. But there are always little voices speaking for tolerance and voices speaking for peace and doing things the harder way, negotiation, diplomacy, all these things. So, I will just speak for myself because it's an open pulpit, but it's terrible what Hamas did. It's terrible what Israel is doing. I wish that we could stop it, and we have to do our best. I'm going to go to a workshop on Monday night. Anybody wants to go to it? The Side with Love is offering a workshop on Palestine and Israel, and it's this Monday night. If you want to attend on Zoom, just send me an email, and I will send you the link. But anyway, so I have a few readings from Rumi for you. Oh, I want to tell you one more thing that we can thank Sufi for. In order to stay up and find your inner God, they took to the habit of drinking a drink that helped them do that. Guess what it was? Coffee. So we can thank the Sufis for coffee. Turkish coffee is the best, for sure. All right. So these are Rumi quotes for you. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. There are 1,000 ways to go home again. Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames. Every particle of love, every sprig of a herb speaks of water. Follow the tributaries. This is like Allison's story. Everything we say has water within it. No need to explain this to a thirsty man. He knows what to do. Lovers find secret places inside this violent world where they make transactions with beauty. Reason says, nonsense. I have walked and measured the walls here. There are no places like that. Love says, there are. Reason sets up a market and begins doing business. Love has more hidden work. Halaj steps away from the pulpit and climbs the stairs of the gallows. Lovers feel a truth inside themselves that rational people keep denying. Follow the tributaries. Everything we say has water within it. No need to explain this to a thirsty man. He knows what to do. Rumi. The version that I use is by a poet. He translated it. His name is Coleman Banks. So if you're looking for really great translations that have the poetic sense of the Persian, which is a very strict form of poetry, I would recommend any books by Coleman Banks. Thank you for listening. We're going to sing number 100. Kind of sticking in our stream and river theme.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul.
Joy.
I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy.
I'm sorry. So I told you there are women Sufi saints. This is one of their readings. Her name is Rabia al-Bashiri. And she lived at 716 to 801 CE. I would never have wandered across these endless countries. You have poured out so much grace for me, done me so many favors, given me so many gifts. I look everywhere for your love, then suddenly I am filled with it. Rabia al-Bashiri. Now we're ready.
Beautiful. Thank you, Reverend Kiya, for raising our awareness and soothing our souls. Now, let an offering be taken to strengthen and support this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. And this church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to help support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. And the 4 groups we voted to support for this year's donations are the African American Museum, Brazos Valley Blessings, the Pride Center, and the Brazos Mobile Food Pantry. We vote on this every May at our congregational meeting. And please, at this time, be as generous as you can.
We're going to sing number 108, My Life Flows On, an endless song. My life flows on an endless song, and I know my lamentation. I hear a river far off him that spells a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. Can I keep from singing? Through the tempest round before, I know the truth is living. Through the darkness round me flows, songs in night it given. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Thank you for these offerings, and may they return to you tenfold. Now, please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
I think we all know this one. Remember the way of the wind, and breathe and blow. Remember the way of the fire, and spark